Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, the ups and downs, and how to navigate life with kids on your own while keeping sane. Covering subjects such as domestic violence through to fussy eaters and solo dating. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. This week's guest has managed a band and toured the US and Europe. Done large-scale event planning for festivals in New York City, Washington, D.C. and Seattle. Been an executive director for an NFL foundation and spent half a decade plus fundraising for national non-profits. They have traveled the globe, ridden a camel in Egypt, danced through the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles, volunteered in soup kitchens, sewn their own clothes, has 2 rescue dogs, and recently survived breast cancer. And if that all wasn't enough, is also the author of the book, I'm the Boss of Me, teaching children confidence, character, and self-esteem. Welcome, Casey Waesche. How are you today? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Claire. I'm doing great. I'm down here in Florida and I'm having a wonderful day.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Hey, look, wow. What a roller coaster ride. You have done you've packed so many things into your life. It's just unbelievable.
This is believable. I've done them.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, exactly. And also you've written a book, and that's really what we're here to talk about. So like, I'm the boss of me. Like, tell us about how you got to write the book.
Well, so in all the various different things I've done in my life, the thing that I've done that I've loved the most has been raising my son. And I have quite a little rascal of a son. And back when he was very big rascal,
yeah,
he would get in trouble with the teachers all the time. And he would, he'd raise his hand and call the teachers liars because they said they were going to take him out to recess at 10. And at 10:03, his hand would shoot up and they'd say, yes, Owen. And he'd say, you lied to us. You're a liar. The teacher's like, what? and he'd say, you said you were going to take us to recess at 10 and it's 10:03. And so,
well, he's right.
Yeah, he hadn't quite, this is when he was around 7. He hadn't quite developed the gray area of thinking yet. And I got a note home that night. And the teacher said, can you please have him not call me a liar in front of the whole class? And so I turned to him and I went, honey, why do you keep doing this? And he said, I can't help it, Mommy. My mouth made me do it. And I went, well, you need to be a better boss of your mouth. And he just kind of looked at me and I kind of looked at him and I realized I wasn't teaching him that. I wasn't teaching him that he needed to be the boss of his mouth. So that night we went into the study, we pulled out blank pieces of paper. I put the names of body parts like eyes, ears, nose, mouth on the top of each page. I asked him to draw a picture of each part. He did. And then we talked about them. We talked about, what should hands do? And he'd say, well, they should hold something carefully, or they can shake hands or clap. And we went through all the body parts and we got to mouth. And I was like, and what should the mouth do? And we talked about, using nice words in a friendly voice, eating vegetables. And I was very, very adamant and keeping it shut. We need to keep our mouth shut. Yeah.
At the right times. Yeah.
It's nice that you're raising your hand, but there are things you don't need to say. And we made a little book that night and we stapled it together. And I still have that original copy.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole thing started 13 years ago when he was 7.
Wow.
Getting in trouble with his
teachers. My gosh. Wow. And so that was 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. So now we've got a book that's out there published that people can buy.
Yes. Yeah.
So how did it morph from just a little exercise that you did with your son to get him to be the boss of his body to a book?
Well, I'd always said, one day I'm going to publish that. One day, and one day just wasn't coming. And it was, life was happening and I was raising him on my own. And I was a professional. I was working. I was, dealing with daycare. I was doing all the things that moms do.
Yeah.
And then I met my husband. And so he's a boyfriend for a while, then a fiance, then a husband. And we were all living together. My son got into college, and he actually had a full scholarship to a full academic scholarship. But I had been saving money for him for all those years. So with him getting a full academic scholarship, I suddenly had a little extra spending cash that I could hire an illustrator. I could go get the book published and start a marketing campaign. And it literally happened after I was recovering from breast cancer. And my husband said, honey, what do you want to do? Like, you don't have to work. Do what you want to do right now. You've just beaten cancer. And I said, I want to write, I'm the boss of me. And so with my son's and with his permission, with his college money and story that we did, 13 years ago, I sat down and hammered it out, and now we have a little book.
Wow. And so talk to me about the themes in the book, because there are 3 themes in the book as well.
Yes.
That you highlight and work through as well. And talk about how the book's, because I love the book. It's very simple. You can, like, who's the book? Sorry, I'm just bombarding you with lots of questions because there's lots. But like, okay, so let's take a step back. Breathe. What age range are you directing the book at? Because I know you wrote it when he was 7.
Yeah.
But like, looking at it, it's very simple. You could even use this with younger children, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'm going to flash it up here real quick. I'm the boss of me. And it is just a little board book. And I'm just going to do a quick little, it's little pages. It's very diverse. But there are 3 basic themes to it. And 2 were ones that I absolutely planned out. And one was just a wonderful happenstance that I'm thrilled about. So the first one was about keeping your mouth shut. It was all about being the boss of your body and having accountability for your actions and your words, having responsibility. So that was one I definitely wanted in there. This book was going to be for children. And then the next thing that I wanted that was deliberate was diversity and inclusiveness. I have as many different skin tones in there. I have a child in a wheelchair. I have a child with glasses. I have a little girl with a bindi. I want any child to pick up the book and say, that looks like me. Hey, I can be a boss of me. So those are the 2 themes that I absolutely wanted in there. And I didn't have a third one, or so I thought. I thought I'm like, 2, I'm good. All the child psychologists, all the teachers, all the people in child safety and childhood development have informed me that I have obviously written a book about body safety for children.
Yeah.
And being the boss of their body, they can say things like, well, I'm the boss of my body, so you can't touch me or you can't hug me. I'm not comfortable with that. And it gives them the ability to start that conversation with a safe grown-up. So the 3 themes ended up being responsibility, personal accountability, diversity and inclusiveness, and then body safety and body autonomy. And I swear, I totally meant to do that last one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, of course. And 3 makes it such a lovely round sort of, top 3 things, et cetera, et cetera. No. And look, and I have to say, thank you for writing the book, because it's helped me with my 5-year-old regarding being the boss of his mouth and being the boss of his body. And so it's been a very interesting experience actually using some of the, because you sent me some of you sent me the book and things. And so some of the actual pages I've actually used with him to actually say, hey, what does your mouth do and what can it do and what are you the boss of, and all of those sort of things. So look, I've used it. It's been awesome to actually just get him to stop and think, and because it's visual, they point and they look and they so thank you. You've helped me a lot in the last few weeks.
Oh, good. Yeah, it took me and when we wrote the original one at 7, he didn't change overnight.
They don't.
It took many pointing out of, hey, you need to be a good boss of your feet. go stand over there. Hey, you need to be a good boss of your arms. Don't hug the cat too hard. All the different things that, and what it does is it teaches a child that they're capable of being in control. That, and you can say things, and this is about being the boss of me, not about being bossy. I'm not the boss of you. I'm not being bossy. So you can say things as, a parent, some child's guardian and stuff, and say, hey, do I have to be the boss of you right now? Or are you going to go sit down? And every kid in the world, every kid says, you're not the boss of me. I don't care what language it is. they know that phrase.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. And, we get to hear it as mums a lot of the time.
And that's where we get to turn it on them.
Yeah.
And we get to say, you know what? I'm going to have to be the boss of you if you don't be the boss of you and do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And that can be, hey, do I need be the boss of you and come put you to sleep? Or do I have to be the boss of you and make you clean up your toys or eat your vegetables? It's wonderful that when they go, no, I'll be the boss of me. I'll eat all the veggies or whatever it is that,
Yeah. And now your son is what? He's 20 and at college, and he's the boss of him.
He is. And you know what? It's so neat because it developed this relationship between us that he still consults me on things. He was having problems his first year. He has a full academic scholarship. He's at the number 7 public university. I have to get the brag.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
At the number 7 public university in the U.S. And he was really having a hard time his first semester.
Yeah.
And here we thought he was going to be this genius business major and all these things. It was not working out. He was miserable. He hated it.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, well, you got to be the boss of you.
Yeah.
Let's look at different majors. Let's look at different things. So he consulted me on it. And I looked at a major called sustainability, and I was like, what about this? This looks like you. And he looked at it and he was like, yes, that's what I want to do. And he switched his major. He is a straight A student. He is loving it. He took a course this past semester called Soil, and it's all about dirt. And he loved it.
No, I know, but it's fascinating. I know you're saying it's dirt, but dirt is how we're going to survive on this planet. So exactly. It's an awesome subject to actually study because I think we don't think about it very much. So wow, okay, and I have to say, I know you're married, you have your husband, and that's great. But when you were going through this with him at 7, you were a single mom.
I was an only parent. There was no father in the figure, or no father in the thing at all. So I had to get really creative. I had to teach him how to throw a football. I had to teach him, I had to do kind of the guy things and stuff.
Yeah.
And there were some things I just couldn't do. But that's why I would write things down. That's why we created this book. So I could get him to buy into it and really, and then I could say, well, honey, you agreed that in order to be a good boss of your mouth, you wouldn't, I don't know, yell on the playground or whatever. That's not a horrible thing, but just, it was getting.
Yeah. Not yell at people basically.
Yeah. So it worked.
Yeah, no, which is great. It's fantastic. So where is your book at the moment? Is it out there? Is it how long's it been published?
So I'm self-publishing it. I'm doing it all myself.
Okay. I
had 1,020 books dropped on my doorstep on February 10th. I'm almost out.
Oh my gosh.
I've got they're in different bookstores. They're in Wellesley, Mass at Wellesley Books. I just got a deal today for a bookstore in Iowa. I'm in,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, in Ames, Iowa. I've got Alexandria, Virginia at Whistle Stop Toys Shop. But the easiest place to find me is at the website. It's www.imthebossofme.com.
Cool.
And yeah, you can order the books, stickers, T-shirts, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, and look, I've been on the website. Look, it does look awesome, and it's great. The T-shirts are brilliant as well because they're sort of like quite cutesy as well. So that's really, really good. So that's great. That's the book and everything. But I'm just going to delve a little bit into you because, like, you've done so much, and like to come through, like, as a single mom, bring up your son, now publishing this book, like, who's been the most influential person on you? Like, how have you got through all of this? Because it's been an up and down journey. You've had great highs with like managing a band and touring around the US and Europe and all of the fun things there and planning festivals and things. But then you've had some really rough times. Like you've survived breast cancer, you've had to single parent and, bring your son up with no partner involved. So, you've been on your own as such. Yeah. So there is none of this like your son at your ex-partners for a weekend or a week or whatever to give you a break.
Yeah, no, that seems dreamy.
No, well, yeah. So like, what motivates you?
Honestly, and I'm not saying this to be cheesy or anything, but the person that truly motivates me the most is my son. When I had him, I was in a relationship and that relationship ended. And I kind of was in a not a happy place at all. I wasn't happy or thriving or anything. And he was born, and I kind of looked at him on that morning and was like, all right, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it the right way, and we're going to make it happen. Yeah. And so I did things like I moved back in with my mom so that I would have a safe place to, raise him where I wouldn't have to work. I didn't want to drop him at daycare. So I really scaled back my life big time. And my mom was there for me and let us move in. And, and so I was able to be a full-time mom for the first 2.5 years. Then the Smithsonian call.
And before your son came along, you had a completely different life, didn't you? I mean, it was like New York City, wasn't it? You were in New York City at the time, and it was full on like crazy.
Oh, it was awesome.
Like, yeah, exactly. That was what I'm saying. It was like awesome. You were involved in so many different things.
Yeah.
And then you had to make a decision when your son came along and say, right, okay.
Yeah.
I've got to bring this child up.
Yeah.
And it's just me.
Yeah. And it was no more rock festivals, no more theater. Well, I still did some theater festivals and stuff, but it was time to put on my big girl pants on and be a mom and put him first. And that's what I did. And all the decisions I started making, instead of like, oh, I want to fly out to LA and there's a thing. And it was like, nope, we're going to stay home and watch Sesame Street, learn our ABCs and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff. And, it was one of those when I decided that that's the path I was going to take, I just went full in and decided that's what I was going to do.
Yeah. No, and like the reason I want to cover that is because like we have so many discussions with people where they've gone, hey, it's great. I've written this book and I've done all these things. But it just, it sort of distracts from the tough times that you've actually had to go through and get to the point where you've written a book. And I suppose one of the reasons I started this podcast was to bring people on board like yourself to say, hey, look what these people are doing. Look what's going on. Yeah. You out there can do this. Yes. And these people haven't had it easy either. It's been tough.
So I think it was, I'll have the year wrong, so somebody fact check me, but it was like 2007, 2008, the recession hit in the US and I got laid off and I couldn't find a job for a good solid year and a half. And,
wow.
And I was living in Seattle, which was one of the hardest hit cities. You had lawyers that were trying to get jobs as baristas at Starbucks and they couldn't. There was nothing. And I was living in Seattle. My whole family was back on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. And it was tough. I mean, I went from, I saw it coming. So, because I was working in nonprofit at the time. And I was like, I'm go from the bigger apartment and go down to a smaller. And I had gone down to an even smaller apartment going, we'll be able to ride this out. And then I got laid off. And I was like, oh. Yeah. And so, that life has not been all fun and games and smiles and roses. I've made mistakes. I've made a bunch of different mistakes. And I probably should have moved back east sooner than a year and a half into, things like that. But I really believe that in life, things aren't bad. They're learning opportunities. Yeah. And so if you can frame it that way, like, okay, I had breast cancer. A lot of people, that's, I'm done. I've had cancer. And I just said, all right, I'm going. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't want chemo. I don't want radiation. And they said, okay, let's see what type of breast cancer you have. And it turned out I had I caught it super early. And they said, all right, you don't need chemo or radiation. Do you want just a single mastectomy or a double? And I said, I'm going to do a double. And they're like, oh, you only need a single. We haven't detected any. We've done MRIs. We've done sonograms. We've biopsies. You're fine over there. And I'm like, I'm going to do a double. They found.
Wow, but that's a big decision.
Huge decision.
Massive.
And it ended up on the table when they removed the left breast too. They actually found 3 different spots of cancer in there. And when they removed the right breast, they had found 2 extra spots of cancer that they hadn't found with the MRI and everything else. So it's, it's one of those things where you just kind of take it. And I was like, all right, I have cancer. So did my grandmother and her 2 sisters. And so it's one of those things. I could be sad. And, the one thing I did do, though, because we discovered I had cancer my son's senior year of high school. And we didn't discover it until April. So we knew that I was having precancerous cells. We had done a biopsy. And so in April, we did a full biopsy to remove that. And that's when we discovered actual cancer.
Yeah, geez.
Doctors, they're like, so we can get you in next week. And I said, you know what? We're going to wait until after he graduates because it's bad enough that his mom gets cancer his senior year. We don't need me dying on the table right before he graduates.
Oh my gosh.
So well, it's just one of those things. Yeah. So I said, all right, we'll do it in June after he graduates. And that's exactly what we did. Okay. And that's when we found the other cancers. And I had a very slow growing cancer. So it was,
thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate. But, you just got to you take what comes at you and you learn from it.
Well, look, I had a heart operation, it'd be nearly 3 years ago. And exactly right. It's exactly what you say. It was a shock that, I had a regular heartbeat and things like that. And I had a heart operation. And it makes you think about life differently, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Like, completely differently. And like, I know people can't see you as such, but the thing is, like, you're sitting talking to me, there's like, if people pick up on the mic that there's some wind and things blowing, it's because you're sitting in a campsite in Florida, like contacting me because there's been issues in America, and we're recording this with you sitting on a campsite away on holiday having a great time with you, your husband and 2 dogs. Yep. So so it's just brilliant and it looks fantastic. But
it's we're stuck down here in Florida, which, it's a great place to be stuck in, but there was a gas crisis. So we were going to be back last Saturday. We were going to be driving back. We have an Airstream travel trailer that we hooked to the back of our truck. We were going to be up there. We couldn't get back up the East Coast. There was no gas. There was a gas shortage. So this was going to be held in my really wonderful office with a beautiful background. It's going to look super professional. I was going to have my hair done. It was going to be fantastic. You get me at the campground.
Yeah, campground in Florida with like lovely green foliage behind you, which is just awesome.
It's real. It's not a fake thing.
Yeah, no, it's not fake. It's not one of these fake screens that get put up on Zoom or whatever. So no, it's awesome. So look, okay. So I know we've delved a bit into like who you are, but I think it's important because we've had conversations prior to the podcast interview. And look, I think it's important because you're such a wonderful person and you've done so many great things, but you've also been through some tough times. So I wanted to actually sort of say, hey guys, you know, people listening to this, like I know we talk about, oh, look what we've done and, oh, this is all great and I've achieved so much, but there's a journey along which we all go that's, you know, it's peaks and troughs and highs and lows.
Yeah. And it really, you know, it's been the past couple of years have just been, you know, highs and lows, right?
Yeah.
Like going back to the cancer thing, like, okay, we caught cancer, we caught it early. Awesome. Bad, but awesome. You know, what are you going to do? I'm going to have the operation after his graduation that, you know, so highs and lows. And then what are you going to do? You know, amputate one or amputate two? Amputate two. Thank goodness, you know. And so that I'd love to say that was the hardest thing I've been through, but there have been other times, you know, just being a teenager is horrible sometimes. And
don't tell me that.
Well, no, being one. Having one.
Being one, not having one.
No, I think, don't worry. When he's a teenager, he'll be a great boss of his teenage years. He'll be the boss of his homework, the boss of his clean room. See, we can use it everywhere.
No. It's awesome. It's awesome. He's very determined, very headstrong, and
that's good. You can't.
Oh, it is. It's like, it's awesome. It is very awesome, but very frustrating for mummy when she, you know, he's persistent. I think the persistency he has when he knows, like, he will not give up asking me to do something, which is great. And I love it. And I don't want him to lose it. But when it's the 7th time he's asked me and I'm trying to cook dinner or whatever, I'm like, dude, honestly, can you listen to what I said 3 times ago or whatever? But it's good. And but these are the things I don't want to remove that from him, because persistency is great, but
it's exhausting.
Maybe it is. Look, it is, but it's it's actually homing it to be more of a positive than a negative. So he needs to be the boss of his ears and listen to what I'm saying to him. Yeah, no, exactly right. And that's how I'm using the book to actually help him to be the boss of his ears and listen to what I'm saying. And, you know.
When you have a spirited child, and that's a gift.
Oh,
it
is.
Seem like it all the time, but it's a gift. Because you can't teach a child spirit. You can't teach them to have gumption. So you've got one of those.
Yeah.
I had one of those. I'm still exhausted from it. And it's a good thing you're cute. But
yes.
But, you know, when you sit back and you go, hey, I need you to be the boss of your ears and listen to me. And then I want you to be the boss of your mind. And I want you to think about it.
Yeah.
And I want you to, you know, think about why I'm asking you this. And think about why now is not a good time. So you put it all back on them.
Yeah.
And it builds their self-esteem. They start feeling capable. They start going, wait a minute. And it does take a while. It doesn't happen overnight, but it is something where they self-reflect. And instead of being told what to do their whole life, go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that. They sit back and they go, hey, I want to do this. How can I make that happen?
Yeah.
Or, hey, I got in trouble. I had a failure there. How am I going to get up from that failure? What am I going to learn?
Yeah. And that's exactly where we're at the moment is it's actually saying, hey, you know, failures are good. You know, he has a little phrase that they've taught him at school, and I can't remember. He said it this morning, actually, which is quite funny. But they're teaching in the schools that, you know, having little failures is good. You know, it's you learn from it. Yeah. So and that's what I'm teaching him. And we were you'll laugh because we were playing air hockey the other night. And he was getting very frustrated and very angry because he was losing. And I said to him, but you're focusing on losing. You're focusing on all the points you're losing. You need to focus on winning. So you have to focus on, well, what am I doing that means that I'm losing? Learn from your losing and say, well, how do I change that so that I can win? And then the little bugger started winning, and so Mummy lost. But that's okay. That's fine. But it's stop focusing on what you don't want and start focusing on what you want. And we're now trying to teach him that, which is going to be an uphill struggle, but it's fine.
But so when Owen and I wrote the book 13 years ago, and it's a totally different book from the cute little one that you've seen, we talked about all the things that you should do or could do and wrote them down. We also talked about what you shouldn't do, but we didn't write them down. They were just open for discussion, but we didn't put them on the piece of paper. We said, we said you should do this. And by the way, keeping your mouth shut is a good thing to do. So that went on the paper. But I didn't say things like on the piece of paper, we didn't write down, don't yell at your friends or any. We discussed it. But instead, we flipped it on the positive. We should use nice words in a friendly voice when talking to our friends. We should, doing all the things we talked about. You shouldn't hit with your hands. We talked about it. We didn't write it down. Yeah. We said, you need to be gentle with your hands. We need to, and trust me, there are several times where I looked at my son and I was like, I don't know where you came from, but and it's okay. That one time, oh my gosh, I came home from work and I just had it was probably right around the time of the recession because it was out in Seattle. And I came home and he was like, hey, Mommy, I don't even remember what he did. And I was like, not now, Owen. And he just looked at me and he just kind of shrunk. And I was like, and I realized I just yelled at him for something that somebody had done to me. Either somebody cut me off in traffic or at work or whatever it was. I came home in a bad mood. And he just kind of shrunk. And I was like, honey, I am so sorry. I just yelled at you and you didn't do anything wrong. And Mommy is so sorry. His little lips started to quiver. He's like, hi. And I was like, honey, no, it's me. Mommy shouldn't have done that. Mommy made a mistake. I should not have done that. And, we hugged and he was like, you scared me, Mommy. And I'm like, did I really scare you? And he was like, no, because but he was trying to get sympathy. So, but that was fine. I had barked at him. I had misdirected anger at him, but I also,
I've done it.
Yeah. I also said I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like I've done it where I've had a bad day or been tired. They push buttons. At the end of the day, children push buttons. They're the best training for learning patience and taking a deep breath and taking a step back. So me and my son at the moment are learning to breathe instead of actually shouting and getting angry at each other. Mm-hmm. He's trying to learn to control and breathe. And it's very funny because when I start to get angry, he goes, just breathe, Mummy. Just breathe, Mummy. And it's quite funny because it's a real good state changer when he just goes, just breathe, Mummy. And I go, oh, okay, no, he's picking up the cues that I'm getting angry because I've probably told him not to do something for 6 times or whatever. But it's also, you're very right in the fact that it is about saying, well, look, sorry, Mummy wasn't the boss of herself then, or and I should be more the boss of me.
Be the boss of my anger.
Yeah. Exactly. And, this is not the right way. Shouting at people is not the right way to control your anger. Mm-hmm. You've got to breathe, and teach it. And so, I need to be the boss of my anger and I need to be the boss of what I'm doing and to, use that as such.
Yeah. It's funny you say breathing because when he was very little, I mean, baby, he had a hard time sleeping and getting to sleep. So I would kind of spoon him and I would do deep breaths and breathe in and breathe out. And I'd try and match his pattern and slow the breathing down. And in my non-scientific head, I was quite sure that all the carbon dioxide or monoxide or whatever it was that I was breathing out might be helping him get to sleep. But I understand now that it's more just the breathing, slowing down,
rhythm,
heartbeat, everything just. And we actually bought an app at one point in time on my iPhone that was pranayama breathing. And to this second, he has it on his phone and I have it on mine. And if there are times when separately, you know, when he was going through his little crisis and his first semester in college, I'm like, do you have the pranayama app? And he was like, no, I got to get back to that. And so the breathing thing is your body has to calm down when you just breathe. It calms you. It's a beautiful thing. It's so good you're teaching him that. That's A+ on that. That's fantastic.
Well, it just stops. It just stops that, you know, and he's the boss of me to a certain extent, because if he's noticing I'm getting angry or like I'm getting frustrated or having a rubbish day. Yeah. Breathe, mummy. And like, you know, and when you have those days where you just sit there and all you want to do is howl and cry. Yep. And he just comes over and gives me a big hug and says, right, breathe, mummy. Just breathe, mummy. It'll be okay. Breathe. And you just go, yep, okay, cool. Oh. And I'm going, you know, he's 5 and he's such a mature little monster. Yeah. Yeah. And these all of this. And I think your book is very good at building conversation and communication between yourself and your child, because I think that's we can't be the boss of them. They are their own little people. They have their own mind. They want to do their own things. And I think, but it's actually about putting in place things that enable you to have a conversation with them and to recognize that they are their own little people, but we can steer them and guide them, but we can't control them.
Yeah. You know, you had asked me earlier what the age range was for this.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, technically it's 0 through like kindergarten and maybe first grade type, but it's a board book. And I also made it with the ink that kids can, you know, bite the book when they're babies and just suck on, you know, they won't be poisoned. It's there to open conversations, and it's there to really be there and to help out. Some people are using it, you know, I have little animals in the corners. So you can sit back and say, oh, what's the dog say? You know, if you have a little one who's not going to sit and read a book and just wants to flip it. And, you know, throw it across the room and stuff. But you can say, oh, look, a doggy or a cat. What's the kitty say? There are numbers at the top. It's a book that is teaching a little lesson. I have parents that are writing me. I have a grandparent who wrote me and said, I know you meant this as a book for kids, but it's affecting me. And I'm rethinking the way I'm doing things. And I'm rethinking about putting me first and being the boss of my life. You've taught an old dog a new trick. And I have all these wonderful unintended consequences of my son being mouthy.
Which is great, because he's grown up to be this awesome kid, and now what you created with him 13 odd years ago is like now helping other kids to be awesome and to recognize you know, and like you said, body safety. And it's so important nowadays to and my biggest concern is that I have a boy. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I want to bring up a boy who is body conscious of himself and being confident in who he is, but also to be aware and know that it isn't reasonable to, and I mean, he's 5, so, you know, it's still a learning process for them, but it isn't reasonable to hit somebody else or to touch them in an inappropriate area or whatever. Right. And it's all about permission based. And, you know, this all happens when like obviously, and it's sort of teaching them now, so that when they become teenagers and when they get to, be active sexually or whatever, that they actually are aware that no means no.
Yes.
And no matter whether you think it doesn't mean no, it's no. Yeah. So that's okay. Step away. And, it's about being aware and respecting other people and what they want as well.
I have a really neat, I'm partnering with a group here in the US, but they're an international group called the Child Rescue Coalition. And all they do is they're getting child pornography off the internet. That's their goal.
Awesome.
That's it. And when everybody was telling me, oh, your book will be great for child safety and stuff, I started researching different groups to see, who might want to be a part of this? What could we do? Well, they're talking about writing "I'm the boss of me and my internet safety," or my online.
Oh, that's awesome!
Right? I know. I'm so excited. Yeah. I was just talking to Alex.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a friend of mine who deals with all cyber hacking and other digital things to come on the podcast, because I think my other concern, and there's a lot of concerns with him becoming older and being a teenager, is this grooming malarkey. The internet is so available and so out there. So there's, it's personal safety regarding being groomed online, and there's so much goes on that we're not even aware of. The cyberbullying, actually the effect that Instagram, TikTok, all of these things are having on. We think they're innocent and, they're not having an effect. But, the picture that they're painting, that everyone else is having a great time and, everyone else's life is fantastic. Well, that's a snippet of what we're seeing. It's not their life. So, but it looks like it's their life. And my concern is the effect it's having on children, basically.
The unrealistic expectations of what life is.
Yeah.
That you're never sad. You never have bad times. You just always... Well, okay, right now I am at the beach, but
I know, which is great.
But I'm not always here. The past year I've been in my house, not leaving because of COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And, and all of the other things that have happened to you. And I suppose that's why I started this podcast, because I was sick and tired as a single parent of seeing online images that basically said, single parents, we can have it all. And I'm like, well, we can have it all, but it's blimmin' hard work,
and not at the same time.
yeah, exactly. And you have to pace yourself. And do you know what, it's a roller coaster ride. There's some really dark times and there's some great times which can bring you to tears when you're watching your child graduate or be involved in some sport or whatever. They're awesome, but then you've got some dark times where and COVID's not been great.
No, it's not been fun over here. It has been. Yeah. It is. I think the U.S. probably handled COVID the least. I can't even come up with the word, but it has not been fun dealing with COVID over here.
No.
I'm like, why can't we all be New Zealand? Like they had 6 cases and that was it.
Yeah, I know. We're in Australia and we're so lucky, but we've had issues with lockdown. So I was in lockdown for 12 weeks with my son on my own, trying to school him, et cetera, which was great for relationship building. And we definitely learned our boundaries and, how to push each other and stuff like that. But so that was good because I wouldn't have got that normally. But also, on the other side, it was hell because I had to, 24/7.
12 weeks.
And 12 weeks. No break. No. So, and it's.
See, I never had that. I got him off to school. I was, I got a job. He went to daycare, things like that. So I know I've been saying my sister-in-law is, raising my 3 nephews on her own. And, I've just sat back and I'm like, you are amazing. You are like a super mom. I don't know. I said to her, I'm like, I have no idea
Yeah.
Thank goodness it happened when Owen was in college, because if this had happened when I was a parent and I had to just full stop and just raise him and have to school him. And I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate teachers and, the people that help us take care of our kids, because it really takes a huge group, a good society, and personal, professional, everything. Yeah. We can't do it on our own. It's not going to work. No. It just won't.
And I mean, I don't have family with me in Australia. My family's in the UK, but my friends have just been my saviors, you know, and other single mums. And it takes time to build up that village that, it does take time. But it is, it's, you find out an awesome group of people that you have around you. You sort of find out that some of them maybe aren't quite as awesome as you thought they were, but that's okay. That's, it's like, it's life. Life happens and people have different considerations that they need to actually, deal with. It's okay. It's fine. I don't hold anything against anyone. It's, we just get on with what we need to. It's good. It's great.
Yeah. I had a situation where Owen was being bullied on the school bus going to school. And I posted it up on Facebook and I was like, I don't know what to do. Owen's being bullied. I had people from all over my life, people in New York City, people in DC. Do I need to fly out there and ride the bus with him and stuff? And I'm like, well, no, but, and then I had, what ended up happening was a good friend of mine sent me his iPod. This was back when there were iPods, and it was a little iPod stick, and it had a bunch of songs on it. And he said, have him listen to this, put the earbuds in. He can just ignore the bully. The bully won't be. And that's what Owen did.
Yeah.
And it was just, so it was neat that's one of the things I like about social media is you're able to reach out to people all over. I reached out on social media and was like, okay, who knows some good military boarding schools? Yeah. Because I think it's time for Owen to go to military boarding school. I think this was when he was about 9. And, and I think you're right that, we as adults probably post more of our failures or stressors or, all the things. We don't try and paint a rosy picture all the time.
No.
On our social media. And I think the kids do. And I think it does cause damage. I'm right there with you. I think the feeling that they have to be perfect and life always has to be good. It's just not.
Yeah, exactly. So look, thank you for coming on board here and talking to us today and letting us know about your book, which is awesome. I'm going to continue to use it. It's so good to actually just get him focused on being the boss of him.
Yeah.
And thank you for telling us a little bit about who you are.
Thank you.
And how you've got here. Yeah. Because that's been an eye opener, and it's very good that people actually understand that life's not rosy, and it's great. I'm just noticing that you're getting darker and darker, and I'm just conscious that you'll be, because it's nighttime where you are and morning where we are. Right. You'll be sitting in the dark with the light from your laptop shining on us. Look, final question is if you had a superpower, what would it be?
If I had a superpower, I would want to be like Wonder Woman and have a lasso, but instead of the lasso of truth, I want the lasso of accountability. So that, right? So you could sit back and you could lasso somebody and go, all right, now what's your part in that? And they would have to tell the honest accountability of what it was.
Okay.
And so, that's something, it's like the lasso of truth. But it's kind of more of an introspection that they have to say out loud, like, well, I'm the one that, didn't put gas in the car. So that's why I ran out on the highway. That would be one of my goofs my husband will tell you about. But, being the lasso of accountability. I think and hopefully with the book, we won't need such a thing, because we'll have this generation of kids that are accountable, that have great self-esteem, that can handle failure, can cope, being able to cope with failure. that can handle diversity and realize how awesome it is that you're going to learn from somebody who's different from you. They're not scary, they're just different. And to be able to be safe with their bodies. That's my goal. And to take over the world. But I'll start with children's books.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. No, awesome. Look, Casey, thank you for coming and speaking to us today. It's been awesome speaking to you. It really is good. And look, if our listeners want to connect with you online, then they can go to the your website you mentioned earlier, which was www.imthebossofme.
Yeah, imthebossofme.com. Yeah. And that's my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff is there. Emails are there. I'd love to have people reach out to me. People are sending me videos of their kids reading the book, and I don't post them online because I think that can be dangerous.
Well,
but it warms my heart. It just seeing all these little kiddos just loving the book. So
no, that's awesome. Brilliant. Okay. Cool. Well, look, have a fantastic evening where you are.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks, Claire. Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you'd like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family on all the usual social media platforms that you're normally on. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content that I know you're going to want to hear, like this. If you want to check out past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself, and remember, no one's perfect, and we're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single, and Human podcast.